What are you teaching people?
And the consequence is that she stands a chance of being caught.
Yeah.
But the repercussions on that are probably not going to be as severe as they should. But the other part of it is that it hurts your soul when you lie, cheat, or steal. It diminishes you as a person. What are the proud moments in your life? It's when you've done something really good and it doesn't matter if anybody sees it. It's when you've done something really good and you've done it really well, and you can sit back and go, okay, I did that, and I'm happy that I did that, and I'm proud that I did that. And it's just, and that's the flip side of the coin, because when I was 13, 14, I got into a habit of shoplifting.
You?
Yeah.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, and I remember there's a guy that literally owned the Five and Dime in my hometown who caught me one day. And it just scared me. I thought he's going to call the police. He's going to call my dad. And he didn't. He just said, I'm really disappointed in you. Now, you can either pay for the stuff that you've got in your pocket or you can put it back. And I thought, I don't have money to pay for it, so I'm going to have to put it back. So I took it and put it back. Came up by him and I said, why? Why didn't you call the police? And he said, because that would have tarnished you. You would have a criminal record then.
Oh.
And it was just, I never thought about that. Young, naive, not real terribly bright kid that, okay. And it was just, the grace that he showed me was just amazing. And so it's just,
really?
Yeah. And so it's something that I obviously still remember.
I would have shut so many doors for you.
Oh, yeah.
Changed your whole life.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's just, oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's one of those, I remember when I got my physical, I was about to move into the advanced course in ROTC in college. I was going to become a junior, and I was going to sign my contract, and I was to take the oath, and I had to go get a physical. Uh-huh. And when I was 14, I had a burn on my right leg, 3rd-degree burn, pretty bad. Had to have a skin graft, a bunch of other stuff. And I remember they took me away from the rest of the group because we're all standing there in our skivs, and one of the corpsmen came over and said, you need to go talk to that doctor. And so I go into this exam room, and I'm sitting there on the table, and the doctor says, how well do you walk? And I can literally remember sitting there, literally seeing a fork in the road. I can either go this way or I can go this way. Because if I mention any difficulty, they're not going to let me go in the Army. I'm done. They're going to medically disqualify me.
Yeah.
And it was a matter of, okay, nope, not going to say that. I can do everything I need to. And, the rest of it was that I was on an orienteering team in ROTC at the time. I was one of the leaders in it. And we did a really good job of map reading and running a team, and placed 3rd in the nation that year. But we even beat the team that came up from Fort Benning, the infantry school. A bunch of ROTC cadets beat bunch of OCS people from Fort Benning, but that's a whole nother story. But, all the time that I was running, I was in combat boots, which protected that spot on my leg.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, okay, as long as I protect it, I can go and go and go. Okay, I'll do that. And that's what happened. And so literally less than a year later, I've completed Ranger School, Airborne School, Special Forces Underwater School.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's one of those, here's the fork in the road I'm going to go down.
A year ago, I remember you telling me that. No, it was about 2 years ago. You told me when we were at Cindy at Red Robins, with Cindy, and you said that the biggest mistake you made was transitioning from active to reserve, and then getting out.
Yeah.
Do you still feel that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Even now.
Oh yeah. Much. It's when I was talking to Navy chief down there at Sam's Club, I mentioned to him, I still miss the camaraderie. The day-to-day. There's a guy at our church. Actually, there are a number of guys. I've gotten to know, I think, most of the veterans in our church, and that's a lot of people. But one of the guys comes up to me and he calls me sir. And he knows I'm an officer. And it's just that statement of respect from him just makes my day every single time. It's just, okay, my thinking is I'm back in uniform again. Okay, I'm in a place where I can make a difference. That was one of the best things about teaching high school there at Sprague for me, was that I knew every single day that I came into the school, I was going to make a difference. There was a student there in the school that needed me. Okay, I'm good.
Uriah needed you.
Yeah.
Uriah definitely, that story's amazing.
Yeah. I was in the right place, the right time, and it's just, okay, I'm happy. And I look back on that with assurance, because you see where Uriah is today and how he's been promoted ahead of his peers every single time. And it's just fabulous. And it's just, okay.
You impacted his life and mine, actually. You impacted so many. When I made a video of so the first video we made, I tried to upload in this platform, and it kind of got a little cheesy, but the amount of students that hit me up and I was like, oh my God, I miss him. And your warmth comes through the video, and they're like, the amount of people that you impacted by just opening the door.
My one main frustration with being in a public school, which I'll finish this, was that I couldn't tell students that I loved them. Simple. And I mentioned that to Melanie. We were in Salem last year. And
she's one of the ones that hit me up.
Oh, I know. I love her. And she comes to lunch with my wife and I, and she brings 3 of her sons in with her, and it's just, oh gosh, I love these.
Yeah.
Oh, they're beautiful children. And it's just, she walks up and hugs me, and it's just, okay, life is much better now. I've just gotten to hug one of the most fabulous people that I've known, and it's just, okay, but that was my main frustration when I was teaching, because I had to be so careful about everything. It just, I remember, I don't even remember her name, but one of my students walked in on a Monday morning, and she had been crying, and whenever a student walked into my classroom crying, I knew what was going to happen. They were going to end up right there, and I was going to get a wet sweatshirt or, vest because they were going to cry all over me. And it's just, I always had to steel myself because I'd been taught to do this side hug type of thing. And I always felt that wasn't genuine. And it was just a matter of, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be genuine and honest with my students all the time. But it was also a matter of, I understood that there could be some backlash on this, because for a teacher, the appearance of impropriety is inappropriate, and you can be fired. And it's just, I don't want that to happen either.
Yeah. Even, Mrs. Dow, another great teacher.
Oh yeah.
How did you learn to not wear your rank? Because you don't. It kind of comes naturally. How did you learn that? Wear your title.
Most of it was, there were a number of people that, even before I was commissioned, that I was with, who mentored me. And it's one of those consequences type of thing. You have both positive and negative. And there were a couple of them whose behavior was really outlandishly awful. I knew one that wanted to be called professor even though he wasn't a professor, and wanted to be called Dr. so-and-so, and he didn't have a PhD. And it was phony. And that's on the negative side of it. The other side of it was that my high school math teacher, a guy by the name of Charlie Jones, had such a large impact on me as a person, personally. It wasn't about the math. Charlie Jones was all about me as a person. And it was just, he was the one that came up with the idea for a 5-minute history lesson at the beginning of a math lesson. And he's the one that told dad jokes, and told them poorly. And it caused students to laugh because the joke was funny, but he was even funnier because the way he told the joke. But, and it was just, okay. And at a very real level, from a teaching standpoint, one of the things you want to do, particularly with students that have had difficulty with a subject like math, is you want to reduce their anxiety. Because when a student's anxiety is peaked, their ability to do rational thought, to problem solve, goes down hugely. I mean, you've heard about the stories of people freezing. Somebody shoots at them or whatever, and they just freeze up. They don't know what to do. The fight or flight is so hard against each other, they can't decide what to do, so they just freeze in place. And I saw it early on in my math classroom. I was doing something stupid and concocted some baloney thing that I did, and it caused the students to just melt. And it was an awful day. And it was just, okay, let's not do this again. Actually, the lesson is that we need to create an environment. I mean, it's my classroom. These are my students. It's my responsibility to teach them. I need to create an environment that reduces the stress. That way my students can perform more effectively. And it's just, and one of the things I found in math in particular and life in general is that people make problems way too complicated. You add 3 to 2. Oh, what's that give you? Oh, that's not 6. It's just the machinations that teachers go through to get students to work a problem a particular way or whatever. You don't need to do that. You show a group of students 3, 4, 5 different ways to work a problem, and then you say, okay, here's a set of 10, work them. And you grade their work on if they got the problem correct, if the answer is correct or not. Doesn't matter how they worked it. I used to get a lot of pushback because I would grade papers, and I'd be looking at, a whole page worth of a single problem. And I'd be looking at it, and I'd go down through, and there's an arithmetic error right here. And so I'd take one point off. It'd be a 10-point problem or whatever. I'd take 1 point off because they made an arithmetic. And then I would take that incorrect answer and I would follow it down through. And for that incorrect answer, they got the problem correct. Okay, you only take 1 point off rather than 10 points. And if you're talking about a 100-point test, that makes a real difference.
Yeah.
And because, is our point as teachers to beat people up? No. Is our point as an officer to beat people up? No. You need to build a team. You need your people to be better each day. You need to have a plan to actually put that into place. How do you take that E3, E whatever, and make them a better person? And how do you do it in a subtle way so that they don't even realize that you're influencing them? Now that is a challenging problem. But that is the point of having that rank on your shoulders. Because we take an oath, and we are told that we need to lead these individuals. Okay. I not only want to lead these people, but I want to make their life better. And I don't mean easier, I mean better. I want to challenge them, work them through lots and lots of different problems. I want them to be able to excel at everything that they do.
Yeah.
And that's it's a huge challenge. Okay. I'm up for it. Yeah.
Speaking for some people that I know personally, how do you undo your own stress? How do you undo and not complicate things? Like you said, fight or flight.
Yeah.
A lot of people live in that fight or flight mode all day.
Yeah.
And they don't ever realize I used this analogy the other day.
Yeah.
Do you see a wall in front of you, or do you see what's around the wall?
Yeah. Yeah. The short answer is that you need to look at this from a biblical perspective, but you also need to take a step back, see where you are in your life. And this is difficult to do, but you take a step back, look at where you are in your life. You have the things you know and the things you don't know. Well, the things you don't know, you don't know. But it's also a matter of the self-confidence that you have. And one thing that many people, myself included, when I was young, did poorly is I didn't pat myself on the back when I'd done something well. I wasn't trained to do that. And so part of my task today is to walk around and pat people on the back. Reinforce that, you did a good job here. I really like the way you did this. Specific performance, which is an educational term, but it's a real, actual point of being able to show someone that what they're doing is a good action, a correct action, and they should continue it, only do it a step up. Now, in terms of reducing anxiety in yourself, if you take a step, literally take a physical step backwards, take a deep breath, you're going to reduce your anxiety somewhat. The second part of it is that you just take a moment to cleanse your brain, look at the world around you, realize how blessed you are. You've got 2 beautiful children, a wonderful, beautiful wife. Life is wonderful. Okay? And you use that as your starting point. That's first base. And then you go, okay, and here's the planner in me. I say, okay, how do I get from first base to second base? The next step in my life. Oh, I need to do this, 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 this. Okay. And you put a plan together. Now, you're not going to be 100% successful, but at least you're on the right path. You're headed in the right direction. With discipline, you can stay on that path, you can continue doing good, and you can achieve much more than if you just fritter time away. We were out eating yesterday at noon at Steak and Shake, one of my favorite places to be, a good restaurant. And there's a woman who looks like a grandmother and a young man who looks like her grandson. And he's sitting at the table with her, and he's got a cell phone out, and he's focused on the cell phone. And I wanted to go over and sit down next to him and say, hey, put the cell phone away. Focus on her, because you're not always going to have her, and you're going to miss her when she's gone. And that's a fact of life, folks. But we don't live forever. One of the biggest lessons for me, the last time I talked to my mother-in-law, a woman who loved me dearly, I didn't tell her I loved her. I did not. And I regret that. Okay.
You never did?
No, I always did. I didn't do it the very last time I talked to her.
Oh.
You know, and so, you know, when we were there at Disney World, and you'd come in all sweaty, and I'd go over and hug you.
Yeah.
And it just bugs the daylights out of you. And that's part of why I'm doing it. But the other part of it is that I want to make sure that you understand that I love you. And it's as simple as that.
That basic.
Yeah.
Is this the same lady that said that if you and Sue ever got in a fight, she wants you to come home, not Sue?
Yeah, that was my mother-in-law. Oh, God bless her. You know, and yeah. The other thing that she taught me, and Charlie Jones taught me, is that life is better with laughter. It's a lot better.
It really is.
It is.
It's easier.
Yeah. Talk about a stress reducer. The other thing that I've found is that I'll be walking through a crowd, and I'll smile at them. Simple gesture. Just smile at people as you walk by them. You know what happens? At least 3/4 of the time, they smile back at you. And what I've found in me personally is when I smile, I feel better. I don't know if it creates an endorphin rush or whatever goes on, but I do. I feel better about myself because I'm smiling. I feel happier. And I don't know why. It doesn't matter. It happens. But the other part of it is that it's like after I finished talking to that Navy chief down at Sam's today, there are 3 other people that walk up to me, you know, because they've seen me someplace, and they were trying to figure out where they'd seen me, and it was at our church. And it's just, okay, I'm in the right place, the right time. You know, I can say, I'm looking forward to seeing you next Sunday, you know, because we have such a fabulous Christian community in our church, and it is so wonderful to be there. And it's just, okay, it's a good place to be. Sue will get to church, and Sue will go up and sit down in the balcony, and she talks to our friends there. Now I'm out walking around the hallways in the church talking to people. That's the division of labor that we have. And it's just, it's the way I like to be. You know, I'm not ready to sit down just yet. I'm ready to, you know, go out and find people to talk to. And yeah, it's a good place for me to be.
Do you ever feel like you're 35?
I feel more like I'm 35 than I do 70, whatever I am right now. And that's such an amazing blessing, because there are all the aches and pains that you get when you get older, and I don't understand why I don't suffer more, but I don't, and it's a blessing, because I've damaged myself. You know, I broke both arms, both legs, one of them more than once, kind of thing, and jumped out of perfectly good airplanes and did a whole bunch of rappelling and did a massive amount of running in combat boots. It surprised me when I started teaching ROTC at LSU Baton Rouge that we formed up for PT one morning. I came in fatigues, and I'm looking around, and I'm the only one in fatigues. And I'm going, what? And they go, we don't wear fatigues to do PT anymore. You need tennis shoes and shorts and a t-shirt. I'm going, that's remarkably wonderful. But okay, but it's just, yeah. And they thought that was funny, but it's just, okay, this is real. This is the only PT that I've ever known in the Army. It's just.
We kind of talked about this a little bit in person, but what's your thoughts about how well people need to hear that term FAFO, like bringing it back?
I prefer.
What's your thought?
I prefer more referring to things as consequences, because when you say FA, it's just okay. That prepositions it to, holy cow, I can't believe you're that dumb to do something that
true.
And much of it is that they're doing it on purpose. And I'm all about purpose-driven life, but it's just, why? Why would you do something offensive or just race baiting or violent or just whatever? Take your pick of negative attributes and feel proud about it. That makes no sense to me. That equation does not balance. Yes,
I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, it's just, because there again, you may not know that person, but what I've found is that give me 5 minutes and I'll know that person, and it's just, it'll be fun discovering, because there are a lot of really good, wonderful people in this world. And it is a matter of discovering who they are and really just enjoying being with them. But the other part of it is that you don't need to be a butthole, to anybody else. Not to your spouse, not to your children, but definitely not to your neighbor. It's just not.
You don't make anybody's day better. You don't make anything better. Usually, what's the term? Pounding on pound.
Yeah, and that's part of what they want to do. They want to incite to riot. And one of the lessons I learned back when I was in college at the end of the Vietnam War, and I'm wearing a green uniform and walking across the college campus, and people were coming up and saying really nasty stuff to me and spitting on me and on and on. And it's just, you don't want to do that now to me, because my response is not going to be appropriate. I'm on load on you. And it's just, that's just where I am today. It's just not, I will not put up with that.
Yeah.
And yeah. And I know, I don't look at that as a fact that people have First Amendment rights to come up and say things to me or spit on me or any of that. That's nope. When you impose on my rights, that's a violation. But the other part of it is there are consequences. And the consequences when you come up and try to subdue a mean old guy like me, they're not good. And it's just, nope, not going to allow that. And it's just okay.
You kind of talked about this one time when you were like, our job as parents is to raise better kids, or just to do the best that we can.
Yeah.
And so with my kids, I'm actually really kind of proud, because I noticed this at Disney and I noticed this out and about. I do that 1, 2, 3 rule. You know, you're going to get a pinch on the third strike. And they don't like pinches, but I commit with it. And
well, you don't want
it worked.
You don't want to make a threat that you're not willing to carry through with.
Yeah.
It's like, and as an officer, you need to remember that lesson too. You don't. I remember standing up in front of my platoon one morning, and I made a threat that I'm going to break both your arms and legs. And it's just, yeah. And later I thought about that, and I thought that was a dumb thing to say, because I'm not. Yeah, I'm just I'm not. No, I'm not going to assault, my guys. No, but okay, I did anyway. But it's just, no, you don't need to do that. It just, yeah.
Making a good call all the time. Even I had somebody the other day, they came to me, and now we start duty hours. Actually, this is actually an interesting story. So our shift is 12:30 to 8:30, and I'm an early person, so I show up a little bit earlier. But this other individual asked me if they could start showing up earlier because they can't drive. They have to take a bus to duty, and they lost their ability to drive because they were driving an unregistered vehicle.
Yeah.
So anyways, in short, I said, yeah, that's fine. And they started coming earlier. And so the other day they came in and they were like, hey, I got an appointment at 3. So they got to duty at 12:30.
Yeah.
They went to work a little bit and they said they had an appointment at 3. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah. And then they said they had another appointment that's off base and they had to take a bus to. And I asked, I was like, what's your appointment? They said AutoZone. They have to go pick up a part.
No, that's not
for their truck.
That's not an appointment. Nope.
Yeah, that's right away in my mind. I'm going through so many things in my head. And the first thing is just, okay, why would you think that's appropriate? And why couldn't you do that from the hours of 7 a.m. 12, let's just be courteous, 11 a.m.
Yeah.
And in my head, so at first I'm like, I kind of set the standard where I was like, this is your one time you get to pull this card on me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to let this fly next time.
Right.
So that's not an official appointment. And just so you're aware.
Yeah. And hopefully you said it just like that to them, because that is a good, appropriate response. I see what you've done. I don't like it. I'm gonna let you do it this time, but next time, nope, I'm off. Yeah.
I looked at the schedule. I looked at the manning. I looked at what we could do, and I was like, we can do this without you. But at the same time, it's like,
shouldn't
be ready, because if you have to come back in, you have to come back in, and it's not my fault that you have to take the bus everywhere because you drove an unregistered vehicle.
Yeah, that's consequences.
At the same time, I'm looking at your side of this picture, and it's just, are people really? I don't want to say the term holding hands, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know what to call that. I really don't know what to call that.
It's called enabling, and what parents do it, teachers do it, a lot of folks do it. But what you're doing is you're enabling that person to continue poor, dysfunctional behavior. And you shouldn't. You should say, oh, nope, not acceptable. Sometimes there have to be consequences for bad behavior, poor behavior. Sometimes it's just a matter of recognizing it and going, nope, and person will straighten up then. But if they don't, then there has to be some type of non-judicial punishment, to use a military term. But there have to be consequences, because one of the things I used to say was that I always had a 2x4 I was ready to, and it was a metaphor, but I always had a 2x4 because it's the story of the donkey and the farmer. Farmer's walking down a road, and donkey sits down, and he goes over, picks up a 2x4 and smacks the donkey between the eyes. And the passerby said, "Why'd you do that?" And the farmer says, "I needed to get the donkey's attention." And that's the metaphor for it, is that all you need to do is get their attention. And once you have their attention, then you can instruct them on what's appropriate, what you're willing to accept.
What are you willing to accept?
Right.
Yeah, I get it.
One of the key problems with many of the parents that I talked to while I was teaching was that they didn't understand who the adult in the room was.
What do you mean?
They allowed
Obviously them.
Yeah, but they allowed their children to do whatever. And they didn't like the behavior, but they didn't stop the behavior, which is going to be foreign for you because you don't operate that way. I've seen you in action. And it's one of those, nope, I'm going to stop this right now. It's the, I'm counting to 3, thing, okay. And the other part of it is that you're not abusing your children, anything but. You love your children, but you don't want to accept that behavior. Okay. One of the there's so many high points of the Disney World trip, but one of the things that
wasn't that great?
Wasn't
that great?
Oh, I loved it. But the evening that you and Cindy and Michael and Rebecca went off, and I don't know where you went, and we're there with your mother-in-law, and Milo needs to be walked around. So I'm holding Milo's hand, and we're walking around the food court. We were in there, and we went around 4 or 5 times. And he's being the little man that he is, walking along, and just, there's something about walking and holding a child's hand that is such a wonderful connection. It's just, I love this child. It's just, and it's, that was for me, that was one of the best parts of the whole time we were there, was just, that time with Milo. It was just, man, what a great kid. And it's just, and yeah, he's young. He's over the top energetic. Okay. That's where we start, and yeah.
And it's really interesting because I teach Milo and Leilani both to always be aware of each other and where each other's at. And so I will sometimes wrestle with Leilani, and then I'll just be like, my freebie is I'll let go if Milo comes and pull my arm apart, saying, hey, back off. And Milo won't do it as much, and he'll get carried away, and he'll watch whatever he's doing. He won't care too much about Leilani, right? He'll be like, oh, Leilani's fine. But reverse that, and I'm wrestling Milo, and Milo's like, Leilani, help. Leilani literally will come, and she will be so serious-faced. She'll come, she'll push me, you stay away from Milo. And if I even get on her mom and try to wrestle with Cindy, she was like, you stay off of mommy now.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because I don't hurt him. I don't make it seem I don't give the image of that.
Love him. Yeah.
But that instills always.
And the lesson for them that they have learned really well is that they will stand up for others.